Samit Patel eased to the top of the run-scoring charts in the top flight of the LV County Championship this season as he struck his second century to give his Nottinghamshire side a very good start to their latest match against Sussex at the Brighton and Hove Jobs.com county ground. Ed Joyce inserted after winning the toss, and that backfired a bit as Phil Jakes and Alex Hales got their side off to an excellent start after Jakes was dropped at slip by Ben Brown very early on. Brown was without the gloves as Matt Pryor returned to the four-day game to try to prove his fitness ahead of the first test match of the summer in a couple of weeks' time. It was to prove to be a costly mistake by Brown, although moving from the keeper's position is not as easy a change as some might think. Anyway, Jakes tried to make the most of his life by going on the attack. He dominated an opening partnership of 74 with what was a frantic innings at times, but one which was immediately putting his side on the front foot. His partner Hales was much more watchful, and this was his only boundary in his hour-long stay at the crease. He was the first to fall after making 16, Brown this time taking an exceptional one-handed catch just off the ground. He confirmed that the ball had carried, and Hales was on his way with a total on 74 for 1. Jakes was soon at his half-century, his fourth in 11 innings as a Nottinghamshire player. He'd needed only 60 balls for this one, from which he'd found the boundary 9 times, many of which were scored behind square. He'd given his side an ideal start in this important game. He was given another life soon after raising his bat, the busy Brown again involved as he couldn't hold on to a tough chance away to his left. Next, it was Pryor who let the Australian off. If you are going to throw the bat, throw it hard, they say, and that worked here as this edge off the Championship debutant Matthew Hobden flew to Pryor at some speed. Jakes was then finally caught at the fourth time of asking just before lunch for 67. The batsman given out caught behind after a little wait for Hobden to earn his maiden championship wicket. Nottinghamshire lunched on 111 for 2 after a very entertaining morning session, and that entertainment continued on into the afternoon. This time it was James Taylor who was dropped, a tough chance at third man, a place where Taylor was caught in his last championship innings. He looked to give the ball a real whack against the side he played one game for last year to try to get a place in the England team. He and Michael Lunn were perhaps given a few too many balls to hit, and with the fielding also letting the home side down, it was Notts who were making very good progress as this day wore on. These two batsmen now added another 59 runs in 14.5 overs together, taking the total onto 164, the runs coming at a fraction fewer than 4 per over. They would have been pleased with their start having been put into bat. Lum, though, would have been really disappointed to get out when he did. On a hard-working 39, he nicked Luke right behind to Pryor, who was looking good behind the stumps, which will no doubt please the England camp. Almost a year to the day when Patel hit a stunning 157 off 199 balls at this very ground against this opposition, the all-rounder was back at Hove and ready to impress in front of a good crowd, which was celebrating the home side's 175th anniversary. And impress Patel certainly did with another terrific innings. He'd already amassed in excess of 500 championship runs this year, and he was soon off and running once again. Whereas he's really batted well this season, Taylor keeps getting out when well set. Here on 29, he was surprised by some bounce from the 21-year-old Hobden. A mistimed shot saw the ball land safely in the hands of James Anyon. Nottinghamshire had still made 209 for 4 after 53 overs, and they were going to add another 199 in the next 43 in this day, with Patel starring by striking a whole host of boundaries. He had to go along without Ricky Vessels, who on 11 drove right on the up and straight to Luke Wells, a wicket which now left the visitors on 248 for 5. That brought in Chris Reed, who almost ran himself out before he'd got going. Had the throw hit the stumps, this day may well have been very different. As it was, Reed and Patel dominated the last session of the day. In it, they scored 149 runs in 32 overs. That all came after Patel got to the 50 mark for the 6th time in this excellent summer for the 29-year-old, a man who's reaching the very top of his game at the moment. His latest half-century had occupied 64 balls, and had contained 6 fours. There were a couple of close shaves for each batsman early on in the evening session. Chris Nash thought he had Reid stumped, while Patel just managed to evade the diving Pryor with a fine leg glance off John Lewis. Otherwise, though, it was mostly plain sailing for these two. Patel must love this ground, and Sussex must be fed up of seeing him bat here. He continued to time his shots extremely well, which saw him race through the numbers, courtesy of a large number of boundaries. No one has talked of him making a comeback in the Test arena for England this summer, but right now there are few batsmen in better form than him, as this innings proved. He may have never batted better than he is doing at the moment, as he became the first man to make 600 runs in the top flight this year. He is a man who loves to prove a point, and his reaction on scoring his second 100 of the championship campaign emphasised what it meant to him. It was reached with his 14th four, which took him to 3 figures from 137 deliveries. It was some knock, and he had by no means finished it yet. After an indifferent season with the bat himself last year, Reid is also rediscovering his form of late. Last summer, the Notts skipper managed only 452 championship runs, but by the end of this day, he'd scored 396 this time. This shot took him to his third 50 off 70 balls, that being his 7th boundary. Reid ended the day on 61, leaving it to his partner to finish the day off in real style, ensuring that Nottinghamshire earned maximum batting points on the very first day of this match. By now, Patel was dealing almost exclusively in boundaries, most of which came through the onside. He was just as good flicking the ball through that area as he was pulling it, and by the end of the day he was closing in on his 150, sharing in a brilliant 6th wicket partnership of 160 made in the best part of 35 overs. Joyce may have wished that he had taken up the option to bat first when he won the toss at the start of the day. Patel ended unbeaten on 142 with Reid on 61, and between them they've taken their side to a very impressive 408 for 5, the runs coming at a rate of 4 1/4 per over. Nottinghamshire will hope to make the most of that total when play gets underway again on day 2. Sussex have 14 overs to try to get some more bowling bonus points.